Hello, everybody. So welcome to Bookmarked Chapter 10. Today we're going to be talking about gifting books. I know there was some confusion on what that meant exactly, but we're just talking about books, recommending books that you can gift to your loved ones. So if you guys have a person that you need to give a book or you want to give a book to as a gift, we're going to try and recommend books to you guys that might be helpful for you. And anyone in the chat can also recommend books too. So we're just going to be talking about books and recommending them all around. So I am Hannah. You're on my channel.
I forget what the order is now because we
Just
mixed
we're
it up.
talking right now.
Okay, I'm Hailey from Hailey and Bookland.
And I'm Zoe from ReadbyZoe. And this is my dad. And this is my dog. They're going to recommend some books today just to give some more insight, some different recommendations. Also, if you want a book recommended for yourself, if you want to gift yourself a book, just put it in the chat. Okay.
Yeah, so we're just basically if you have a specific person that you're looking for a book for, or if it's for you and you want us to recommend you a book based on your specific tastes or what you're looking for, you can ask us what's a good book for someone who's not into high fantasy but wants to get into high fantasy, something like that. And we'll do our best to give you guys recommendations. I also wanted to mention that Appa is here joining us for this live show. Zoe got this for me for my birthday / Christmas, and it lives with me now. So yeah, he's also here.
Guess what I was doing last night?
We were watching Avatar.
And Zoe came in and she says, guess what I got Hannah?
Okay. Oh, we should talk about what we're currently reading.
Oh, yes. So you're on my channel. You may have seen the video that I uploaded today. It's literally all the books that I'm currently reading. But as I was going to grab the books off my shelf, I forgot everything that I'm currently reading. So I only grabbed 2 of them, and I have the audiobook.
Wait, we just replay your video?
Yeah,
I can literally tell you.
But I am currently rereading Vicious because I want to read Vengeful, the sequel to it. I'm also reading A Winter's Promise. This is a book that's translated from French to English. Apparently there are 3 books out in the series, I think right now. This is the only one that's been translated. But everyone says this is the most popular YA book in France. So I'm really excited to try it. And then I'm listening to Circe by Madeline Miller on audiobook, which is so good. And then, the other one was Hey Kiddo, which is a graphic novel that I just finished. So yeah, those are all the things that I'm currently reading.
So I have a question for you, right? Sorry.
Oh, you're okay.
Hannah, you were talking about the book that's translated from French. Does anybody actually speak or read enough French to actually read it in the original?
Well, people from France.
Well, of course, I'm talking about you.
Don't be smart to your father, Zoe.
Now you see she's been off at school for 4.5 years. You guys have actually seen her more frequently than I have. So
exposed. Wait, you're from Canada. That's the secondary language in Canada, right?
Yeah. I can't speak French though. My last name though is LeBlanc, which is the white, and it's a French last name. But people often assume that I speak French, but I don't speak French. I wish that I did, but I did not, because they used to teach it all throughout school, and now it's kind of coming back, but they stopped it when I was in, I think, senior kindergarten. They stopped doing it, so I never really got the opportunity to learn French, unfortunately, but I wish I could.
I took 3 years of French in high school, and I remember enough stuff that I can still read passages or articles sometimes, but I'll have to look up words. So I think I could try and read it in the original French, but I think it'd be really hard.
It may take a while. Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to derail the...
Oh no, all good. I'm currently reading nothing because I've been working really hard on Bookmas videos, so I haven't had the chance to pick up a book. But this Friday, I'm doing my 24-hour Christmas readathon, so I will have to read then. Yeah.
Tell them how many videos you edited today.
I edited, did it 6? Yeah, 6 videos today. I've been filming like 5 videos a day for the past like 4 days. It's been a lot.
How can,
Hailey's a miracle.
you have to give some pointers to Zoe, because I know she'll record in like an hour and then takes her 5 hours to edit that same video. That to be able to edit 6 in a day.
Don't be rude to your daughter.
You know, you have to, if you've seen her and her videos, you know how meticulous she is. So she it has to be perfect.
Yeah.
You're already talking. What are you currently reading?
Well, did everybody finish?
Yes.
So Zoe, of course, was asking me whether or not I saw the movie Crazy Rich Asians, because she had seen it when her mom was down here in Florida visiting. So of course she said, I actually did see it. I saw it on my own because Zoe was up at school, and of course I saw it because she told me.
Did you go alone?
I did go alone.
You went to a rom-com alone? I'm so sorry.
I did. It was. I'm a sad middle-aged man to do that. Anyway, so I went. I came back and Zoe asked the same thing she just did now, and she said, "Of course, you have to read the book."
Yeah.
So I started reading the book, and last night I stayed up way too late, and you can see I'm about half done with it. And you know, I get up very early in the morning at between 4:30 and 5 each morning to go to work. So staying up late is not a good idea.
But you're also listening to an audiobook.
I'm
Heartless.
Well, besides that, we also have the. I am listening to Heartless.
We're rereading Lady Midnight together because Queen of Air and Darkness just came out, and we both completely forgot what happened in the first 2 books. And I also wanted him to read with me, so I wasn't alone. But...
Well, of course, before we read the latest one, we want to get caught up on the story.
Yes.
Yeah, so
and I want to read all of the novellas in the Ghosts of the Shadow Market,
which I've already read.
You've already read. Alrighty, well,
you know, I get in that groove
on that grind
for that series, and you just have to keep going. Flesh out the entire world.
Well, what are you?
Oh, the other one was Heartless by Marissa Meyer.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that book.
You read all of the Lunar Chronicle books. I didn't even tell him to. He just was like, I'm gonna read them.
Amazing.
It was recommended by I actually listened to my audiobooks, most of them through our local library, and from the other series that I've listened to, it makes recommendations, and that was one of the recommendations.
Oh, you didn't hear it from me, who has a Reddit? Okay. Well,
did you read it?
Let's continue. So,
dad jokes. I'm sorry. I'm a dad.
No, that was good.
Okay. Everyone wants you to make a YouTube channel.
No.
He'd probably be better at it than I would. He'd be better at it than I would, because apparently I'm too meticulous.
Well, I mean, we seem to have double equipment for everything, so it's not like we didn't have all the stuff, but I just do not have the time, and I am probably far worse even at being picky when it comes to editing. Zoe'd be, speed demon at editing compared to me.
At least I'm impressive compared to one person. Okay. So, a lot of people have been asking for books for people who don't read. So, and a lot of people were talking about for older people who don't read, like an uncle who doesn't read or something like that. So what would you recommend, since you're an older man?
But I read, and everybody in our family reads, and my mother reads, and
That's not the point of this video.
I
Dad.
know. I'm trying to. You have to give me an example. Give me an example of like maybe one of our relatives or someone to use as an example.
Uncle Jerry.
Your uncle?
Yes.
My brother-in-law?
We have too many Jerrys in our family.
So Jerry likes to play baseball. He's very much into sports. He also loves bowling. He watches sports and sports and sports. So I think if you were to recommend anything for him to read, it would probably have to be sports related of some sort. What's
like an action packed book? Because I feel like it'd be a lot of action and
well, it also depends on what kind of action. I mean, you could go to genres like the Lead Child series on Jack Reacher that they've even made into movies. That's a lot of action. But one of the things that what they don't show in the movies that are in the books, there's a lot of death. There's a lot of killing. There's a lot of violence.
I feel like Uncle Jerry would like that.
He might, especially since what does he do on most weekends?
Kill people? What?
You know that your Aunt Terry's now going to show him this.
Setting it up.
No, he goes hunting. Hunting and fishing.
That's not much better, though.
Yeah, well, okay.
Okay.
He doesn't hunt just to go hunting. They actually,
they eat it. So
they eat what he catches.
Okay. So if you want any recommendations, leave in the chat, or that people have asked on Twitter as well. So if you want us to, if you have a better example than my Uncle Jerry.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, my usual thing, because I get this a lot at work, is a lot of times we'll have kids who come in who don't want to read. They're not big readers at all, or really, and this applies to anyone of any age group, but particularly it usually happens with kids who are dragged in by their parents to find a book, whether it's for a project or something. My recommendation is usually to find something that they've seen a movie of. Because we always say, like, read the book before the movie, but for someone who's already familiar with a movie, reading it in a book format might introduce them to a whole new medium of the story and then might get them more involved in reading. So, it's a storyline that they're actually interested in. It's just a different format of being introduced to it.
I strongly agree with that. There's one thing that I would suggest that's a little different than that, because kids, having raised kids, they would much rather, of course, watch the movie. But what about a book that's part of the series, but it's not been made into a movie yet?
Yeah,
so
that's good.
They're already familiar with the characters and the world that it's written in and everything. That way, it just continues the story. Especially, of course, if it's a movie that they enjoy,
and if it's like a close adaptation. Because if it's taken some liberties, like The Lightning Thief, then probably have them reread the first book.
Yeah.
I think a really good one for people who don't like to read, one that I always recommend, is the one that I'm rereading right now, Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Because I also agree with you, Zoe, that like having a book that has a lot of action in it is usually good for someone who doesn't like to read very much, because you're less likely to get bored because something is constantly happening. And this book like doesn't let up on the action or the suspense. So I would definitely recommend trying this one for someone who isn't too into reading and kind of wants to try something new, because I think it's really good for that.
Is it geared toward a specific age group, or
it's adult? Yeah, it's adult. But I don't think that there's anything in it that's too graphic or too violent that you couldn't read it if you were younger either. But it is an adult book. Yeah.
And it's about superheroes, so it's very in the now. I was reading it, or I started reading it when we were going to the wedding.
There's actually there's a lot of
somebody else, that isn't a big reader. Your cousin Jordan.
There's actually a lot of things out right now, like how DC Comics has like the Icon series, I think it's called, where they have like Catwoman Soul Stealer, Wonder Woman Warbringer. There's a lot of things where they're taking characters, like I think Assassin's Creed also has something like that. I know there's a Marvel one, but if you're trying to get a young kid to read, then I think go for something where they might be familiar with the character, because there are actually a lot of books that it's not anything that has been a movie or anything like that, but it is still a character that they would be familiar with. So if someone's into superheroes, superheroes. I just thought of that because you mentioned Vicious and superheroes. The DC Icon series would be a great one because it is like superheroes that they would be familiar with, just in a different format.
Graphic novels as well.
Yes, definitely.
Because they're very short and quick to get through, so it feels, usually when people don't read a lot, they don't want to read because it takes so long, and it takes like so much out of them. But a graphic novel, they can feel the sense of like progress and achievement. So I think that definitely would work. Oh, here's a good one from Estefani Farfan in the chat. Are you watching YouTube while we're? Oh, he has you're currently reading video of, and it was an ad. She just went through what she's currently reading, giving you that ad revenue though. There you go. Estefani asked, "What about retellings for people who like Disney?"
Oh, there's actually the Disney Twisted Tale series. So they have like, I have the Little Mermaid one, which is like what happens after the Little Mermaid. So things like that would be good too for someone who's not a reader, like obviously. But there's also a Mulan one, there's Beauty and the Beast, there's a lot of them. I can't remember. I think there's an Aladdin one as well, but there's a ton of them, and those would definitely be really good. But also something like Heartless, like anything where you can find characters that you're familiar with, but in a different sort of format, because it's all based on fairy tales a lot of the times, most Disney movies. So find those fairy tale retellings, and those would be good.
What's the best retelling that you've read? Because there are so many out there, and I can't even, the only ones I can think of right now are the Lunar Chronicles. Why is that always the case? But there's, some of them are, I think a good one would be, it's not a retelling, but Every Heart a Doorway. I think that would be,
okay.
Those are really short too, but because it's like what happens when you come back from like Wonderland or something like that. So it's not really a retelling, but it's a different look at a similar concept.
There's actually a YA book that just came out that's like basically that exact same concept. The Light Between Worlds by Laura E. Weymouth. That one is, it seems like it's Narnia that they're basing it on, because it says that they returned to London during the Blitz. So that's one I want to read. But yeah, something like that where you get those same fairy tale feels. I feel like my favorite retelling is Heartless, but I mean, I also have an affinity for that because of Alice. So
Michelle Fumagali in the chat asks, what graphic novel do you recommend for people who like history? I really liked Persepolis.
Yeah, Persepolis is amazing.
I haven't read the second one yet. Have you read the second one yet?
Yeah, I've read the second one. You got me the second one.
I did it for you? Yeah, and then I bought it for you. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
I really liked Mouse by Art Spiegelman. That's a really intense and difficult one, but it's one that I think is important, and it's a really good read. I enjoyed that one, and I'm not really big into graphic novels that much, but that one I did really like.
I had to read that for school. I really enjoyed it.
So did I.
I had to do a whole paper on it, but yet I still enjoyed it. That shows how good it is.
I know, right? Yeah.
There's another one. It's not about history. It's more about like kind of mythology and world religions that I read. I forget what it's called. I have a copy of it at home, and of course I don't remember the name of it right now. But I'll look it up. But yeah, it's about like mythology and world religions, and they're all kind of like combined into one. So you do get a little bit of like history in it as well as like a little bit of like a fantasy vibe. It's really, really good. I'll find the title.
Cool. While you're looking, let's move on to Dylan from on here on YouTube. Asks, needs some recommendations for high fantasies that are easy to get into, not urban or paranormal, which is something that I want to know too, because that's going to be me next year.
I got you.
There you go.
An Ember in the Ashes, super easy to get into. It feels almost like urban fantasy, but it's not. It is high fantasy. Great characters, an amazing plot, talks about a lot of like social issues and political issues. It's wonderful. Why am I blanking on absolutely everything now? One sec. I'm trying to look for this book. Hailey, you go. If you have more.
Well, I feel like I want to say Six of Crows, but I know so many people have struggled with Six of Crows because it's kind of slow in the beginning, but the characters were really engaging to me. So I had an easier time getting into it because of that. Wow.
In the beginning.
What?
It's not slow in the beginning.
Well, that is the main complaint from people, is that they had a hard time getting into it and they give up on it. I also did not think it was slow in the beginning either. So, but that's what other people are saying. I don't know if I have any others. Queen of Blood.
Oh, sorry. Is it recommended to read the Grisha trilogy before Six of Crows?
I mean, like, it connects, but
yeah.
Can you read it afterwards?
Yeah. So, like, I didn't read the whole Grisha trilogy before I read Six of Crows. I read the first 2 books. I didn't read the last one. But then I read both of the Six of Crows duology, and you're going to be spoiled for something that happens at the end of the Grisha trilogy. But, like, if you don't care, it doesn't matter. You won't be.
Yeah, it's not
Six of Crows.
Yeah,
it's not like the Shadowhunter books where, like, you have to read. Yeah.
I think Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst is another good one. That one's actually technically an adult fantasy, but I found it really engaging. And The Goose Girl by Shannon Hale. That one is for a bit of a younger age group in the first book, but then the second book gets kind of dark, but they're really good.
I got the title of the graphic novel, by the way. It's called The Encyclopedia of Early Earth by Isabel Greenberg. Yeah, it's very good.
I don't know if anyone would be interested in any, I guess, there are other fantasy series that have been around for many years, some of them longer than you guys have been alive. I don't know if anybody would be interested in some of those, but of course, for fantasy, just for fun read, is always the Terry Pratchett Discworld series. Those can be some are very serious, some are hilarious. He was an excellent writer of things that would just get a strange snort laugh out of it just when you're going through going, what? But it was still always very fun and very quick reads for those. Other good fantasy novels, as I had mentioned to Caitlin V on here, she was asking about ones that have dragons in them.
Okay.
And one series that I've always liked is the Dragonriders of Pern. The first Dragonriders novel, I think, was published like 1968 or 69. And the author, she had written that for probably close to 35 years. She
it's going to be Cassandra Clare.
and then when she retired, she actually passed away. Her son, Todd, had actually picked up the series and continues to write on it today. So the Dragonriders of Pern, again, it's more one that may be better to read them in order, because of course, as with any of them, it builds as you go through. But
which Terry Pratchett book do you start with? This is because I really want to get into. I want to try Terry Pratchett because my whole family is really into them. But he's written so many books in the world, and they're all like different series. But
right.
Where do you start?
You do have to start with some of the early published ones, but it does not mean that you have to start with the very first one. The first one was
Color of Magic.
Color of Magic. Color of Magic was the first one. It is more of a standalone book. It really just introduces a lot of the world, but it's standalone. You don't really need to start with that one. It depends on which ones you might be interested in. Which you said it's actually series within series.
Mm-hmm.
So and one of the things I really like about Pratchett, though, is all of his characters, female characters, any of his characters, all very strong characters. You do not have any weak, oh, please come and rescue me kind. No, you never see something like that in any of his books. Because there's the series with the witches, there's the series with
death.
With death.
Mm-hmm.
Those can be rather funny, which is
yay death. But what about someone who's just getting into fantasy? What about like a younger reader?
And again, that would be a good series to start with. But actually, I'm going to have to. Zoe has her bookshelves right here. Mine are down in my office. Okay. I'm going to have to go and look for ones that I've read in the past. Because I'm like Zoe, I keep my books usually forever. So there's.
You're saying as I'm about to unhaul a bunch of books.
Yeah, I have books that are far older than Zoe on the shelf.
Oh, Dad, did you read Good Omens?
Yes, and I just reread it, and they're saying that, of course, because they know that there's a TV adaptation that's going to be on what is it? Amazon?
Stars? I don't know.
Amazon. I think it's going to be on Amazon Prime.
Okay, go get your books.
Yep.
Let them talk. Bye-bye. There you go, a bunch of recommendations.
I have another like good fantasy, high fantasy, if you want to try and start getting into it. I think the Truth Witch series is very, very good, and very underrated. Like I feel like it has a strong following of like the people who like it, but I don't feel like it's like as well loved as stuff like Throne of Glass, but I think it's infinitely better.
It blew up a lot when it first came out, and then you stopped hearing about it. When the sequels came out, you didn't hear anything past the first book.
Yeah, and it's so good. No,
they aren't.
I don't think so.
It's something about a TV show, but it's probably wrong.
I mean, I would like that, but it's very, very good, and I think it's a really good high fantasy series to get into if you're just starting to get into high fantasy, because it's not confusing.
It's like Avatar-ish, right?
A little bit, yeah. It's in my video that I made where I recommended books based on Avatar. If you like Avatar.
Oh yeah, I did watch that video. That's why I know that.
Yeah, so definitely recommend that one too.
Ooh, oh yeah, people are talking about Shannara Chronicles, which I don't actually know. I watched the first episode of that TV show. I don't actually, just because Austin Butler, whatever his name was in it, and I think he was cute, and that's the only reason why I watched it. But good to know the books are good as well. Okay. Oh, people are asking about urban fantasy now.
The Diviners.
Yes.
The Diviners.
Yeah. I've only read the first one so far, but it's the perfect spooky book. It's so good. And listen to the audiobook too.
Mm-hmm. It's spooky, it's suspenseful, it's thrilling, there's romance. There's so much good stuff in that book.
The characters, Jericho. Yeah.
Yeah. I concur.
But, usually with fantasy, I can't really listen to the audiobooks. But with that, I think because it's such urban fantasy, it's not like that high, like, oh, whoa, you read a lot of books. But it's not as much world building. So it's, and also the narrator is so good. But
yeah, she does a great job.
Would you like to go through your books?
Oh, it was just some of the books we were talking about. So
your book recommendations.
Anne McCaffrey's Dragonrider of Pern. Actually, I should look at how old that book is. Let's just get a look at the copyright.
He also has a whole video on my channel about all of his favorite books, and you talked about that book in it. I think you talked about all the books that you're holding up. So if you want to know more. So
then I don't need to say anything. I just refer you to the video, right?
You can talk if you want to.
You can talk if you want to. Hey, it was right. 1968.
Nice.
Why do I know that? So, and we were talking about some Terry Pratchett novels. This is one of the first ones I would recommend. Would be Equal Rights. That's one of the first in the series that introduces the witches.
Ooh.
And that's a very good one. And then there's Guards, which I've lost the dust sleeve. Oh no! And this introduces the
guards.
The Flatfoots of Ankh-Morpork.
Ankh-Morpork. That sounds like that Muppets song.
More fantasy. This is Christopher Moore series.
Sacre bleu.
Each one of
Bleh.
these are more adult, and
Yeah, I'm not gonna show the cover. Ooh, scandalous.
but they're definitely vignettes. They're standalone novels. They don't usually build on one another. There's also the Jim Butcher series of the Dresden Files. He's a modern day wizard, so it's essentially set in our world,
Urban
but
fantasy.
has magic is a real thing, and he's a wizard trying to make a living in Chicago. So if you're familiar with Chicago, a lot of that world will make perfect sense to you. And then the last one that I have here is the Belgariad series. Again, this was written probably 25 years ago. A wonderful world built that David Eddings builds in this one. It became so popular, he even added to the series like 15 years after he stopped publishing and because people just wanted to know a little bit more.
Like J.K. Rowling?
Yeah, very much like that. So most of those are fantasy. I have some, if anybody's interested in science fiction series too, that doesn't seem to be as much of as popular, especially on your channels.
Sci-fi struggle.
Right.
There's another good question on Twitter from Cora Godfrey. They asked, my best friend is a fan of contemporary novels and I'm not, so I don't know what to get her. Do you have any recommendations?
My time to shine.
Yes.
Okay. No, come back. Come back.
I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding.
Well, hold on. Ooh. Okay, if you want more of if you want something that's a little bit more of like a mystery with some thriller aspects and also something that will make you cry and think, and it's just so good. If you want a great audiobook experience, Sadie by Courtney Summers, one of my favorite books of the year. My goodness. Also, wait, hold on. Okay, where is it? Oh no. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
Oh, I have mine right here.
There you go. Taylor Jenkins Reid in general, if you want more of an adult contemporary, there's not a lot of like sexual aspects or anything, so don't fret. But so good. That's my favorite book of hers so far that I've read. And ooh, okay. There's so many.
There are so many.
Obviously like Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I feel like it's just, it's a classic.
Radio Silence.
Radio Silence.
Yeah.
Yes, I have it right here. Alice Oseman.
Mm-hmm.
Classic.
Are you sure you two don't share a?
We do.
Maybe you should share a channel.
Yeah.
We do.
Turtles All the Way Down. Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. I'm just saying all of Hannah.
Yes.
Oh,
The
good.
Astonishing Color of After is amazing. I know Hailey loves that one
I
too.
haven't read that one yet, but it's
You would
sad.
love
So
it.
good.
A little bit more sad.
Yeah, content warning for suicide in that one, just so you know. But it's very good.
If you want something that's a little bit more lighthearted, I would definitely recommend Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson. Any Morgan Matson, but this one's my favorite. Definitely. I don't know. It's just so good.
Morgan Matson.
Contemporaries. And Jenny Han, just summer contemporary. A+. Okay.
Perfect. Covered all the bases there.
I'm trying to give you a little taste of everything.
I love it.
Okay. Oh yeah, so I've heard like We Are the Ants. Haven't read that one yet, but and Casey, is it Cassie West or Casey West?
Cassie.
Cassie.
I
thought it was
Cassie?
No, I listened to the audiobook and I think she said no, it's Casey. It is Casey. I'm trying to think of what I say. Yeah, it's Casey. I'm sorry. Someone else said it the other way and I was like, no, that's wrong. And then they continued to say it and I continued to get annoyed. But then I just did it. So
on Twitter again, I don't know this person's name. Slytherin Reader rocking around the tree, I think is what their handle is.
I love it. I love it.
Amazing.
Any poetry recommendations? Already read Amanda Lovelace and Rupi Kaur, preferably books that are lesser known. I'm going to recommend a novel that's written in verse, which is The Poet X, because that one is so good. So that's not a poetry collection, but you should
audiobook too.
Yeah,
the audiobook is read by the author. It's really good.
Yeah, because she does spoken word, I think.
Yes.
So she narrates it. So I definitely recommend that book. I really like Nikita Gill. I think that's her name.
That sounds familiar.
She's also on Instagram. I don't have my poetry collection with me. Otherwise, I would remember all of these. If you like more classic, Sylvia Plath. Ariel is really good.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Oh, I really like Lang Leave. I think that's how you say her name.
Yeah.
She has a lot of love poems. Those are really, really beautiful too. She has, I think, 3 or 4 poetry collections. Those are all similar to Rupi Kaur and Amanda Lovelace. So those would be my recommendations.
Ooh. Multi Alexis 234 asked, do you guys know any music books? I need a gift from my piano teacher. So I'm guessing books with music in them, or books of music,
or where the plot is driven by music.
Oh,
Does this song Will Save Your Life by Layla Sales?
Wait, what?
This song Will Save Your Life by Layla Sales.
I haven't read that one yet.
It's really good. It's another good contemporary. It deals a lot with mental illness, so like that's one of the main like topics of the story, but it's about this girl who falls into kind of like a DJ scene, and she gets really into DJing, and she loves music, and it basically saves her life. It's a really, really good book.
I know that I haven't really read any, but I know that Murakami has one on music, and that one seems to be pretty popular. I've seen that one quite a bit. But that's really my only one. I don't have many. That's a really good question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know why I picked that one because I don't know of any.
Yeah, it's a hard one.
Oh, goodness. But we have one. And I know that the next book by Taylor Jenkins Reid follows a rock band in the 70s.
Daisy Jones and the Six. I am so excited.
But that comes out next year, so probably not the best for a gift right now. Unless you give them like a book code.
That's a question that I had. Of course, when gifting, especially since that's your topic here about gifting for the holidays or something, I would imagine that most people are going to actually gift a physical book.
But you can send Kindle ebooks.
Sure. So I'm just wondering what the preference is. For, and not for gifting, but for receiving. If you were to receive one, what's your preference, digital or print?
I like paperbacks.
And if you don't know what I do for a living, I'm actually work for one of the publishers. Not one that's really popular in the genres that you review. But it's Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. We do have a trade division that's out of New York. I work
with book too.
I work a little bit with our trade division, but I mostly work with our K-12.
But you're also an IT guy.
Well, not anymore, actually. But anyway,
I don't know.
So one of the big things that we're is whether or not people prefer digital or print. Of course, we make both available when we publish, but from a publisher standpoint, we prefer digital because the overhead's much smaller.
Everybody's saying print.
I know. I'm seeing
it's
that.
also like the crowd that this question's being asked to, but it's interesting like working at a bookstore with this question because trade has been down for a while. Like trade sales have been down across the board for every single bookstore that's true of, but then you go somewhere like here and everyone's like physical books. And a lot of people do agree with that, but we also live in a society that's so on the go and everything is being made smaller. So I can totally see the appeal in digital books. And I feel like it kind of depends on where you are. Personally, I feel like there's nothing like having something tangible there, especially if you're going to give it as a gift. You actually have something to like wrap nicely and all of that. So I like physical
We have
books.
one ebook. Stefan, yeah.
Also, Zoe talked about unhauling a bunch of her books because she has, I know, you should, if Hannah's seen our house, there's bookshelves everywhere. But just even if you decide to unhaul the print book, that doesn't, you still could have the digital version forever. I mean, as long as you have space
But
on.
you can delete them.
You can, but why would you?
I deleted one.
I mean, unless you really didn't like that book or that author really ticked you off.
I mean, I deleted. It was a school book. I didn't
It
want
was
it
a
on
school
there,
book.
plaguing me. Do we have more? Okay. Oh, I like this one. Fantasy books for a mother who only reads thrillers.
Ooh.
Like a spooky fantasy book.
Yeah, I feel like you've
I mean,
know
designers.
mystery.
That's all I can contribute to this party, but
I feel like Mistborn would be good for that.
Yeah.
Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. That one's like pretty thrilling. And if you like thrillers, I feel like you would enjoy that fantasy.
How many of the series have you read?
I've read the first two. I haven't read the third one yet. And I know they're continuing on now, so.
I've read the first two as well.
Okay, cool.
Twilight by Stephanie Meyer.
Perfect. Thank you.
It's spooky. They have pointy fangs.
Pointy fangs.
I feel like another one would be The Savage Song by Victoria Schwab.
What is that about?
It's hard to explain.
It's like monsters and
Yeah.
not monsters, and there's music things and
Yeah, another music book.
yeah. Ta-da.
But yeah, there are like monsters in this world, and there are like different types of monsters, and it's like the line between what is monstrous and what's human, and what
which I
defines
love.
that.
She does a lot of stuff that's like exploring stark divides, like even Vicious is good versus evil.
Yeah, that's
I
what
love
all
that
of her
stuff.
stuff is basically.
Yeah. I love when things are focusing on that binary because it
Me
makes
too.
you uncomfortable and you're like, but no, it has to be divided.
I feel like we should maybe recommend some middle grade books.
Yeah.
Because
I just picked one up that I think is so adorable. Actually, I don't have it on me because I'm doing a video where I unwrap books that I wrapped for myself for a book haul. So it's already wrapped up for Merry Christmas.
You know
to
which
me
one you wrapped it in? You just pick
no, I have no clue. I have no clue. They're downstairs under the tree because like it's a full-on Merry Christmas to me. I was very good this year, so I deserve all the books that I bought myself. So it's down there. But it's called Pages & Co. I don't remember the author, but it's about this girl named Tilly who lives in this bookstore with her grandmother, and she's lived there for a very long time. And then from my understanding, they go into a book and she follows Alice and Anne of Green Gables into this book. So like it feels like it was written for me. It looks so cute. And the actual book is like so carefully crafted. There are like things that like the text will kind of I don't know how to describe it, but the text will be like falling. Like every part of the book is so cute and it looks absolutely amazing. So I'm very excited for that one. I think that looks like a really cute middle grade. I haven't read it yet though, but I feel like people should pick it up because it looks cute.
Not to be constantly recommending Victoria Schwab, but I'm going to recommend it again. City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab is amazing. They just released the title for the second book.
It's going to be adapted, right?
What?
Yeah.
It's being adapted.
Yeah, it's being adapted to a TV show, except it's not middle grade. They're making her like 17 or something.
Yeah. Like college student. That's what I...
Oh yeah, college student. So even older.
What?
In the book, she's like 13, 12. I don't remember. She's really young. So that book is really good and pretty spooky.
Yeah.
Um,
I find that there's a lot of kids. I used to always get kids coming in for spooky stuff too, who are looking for stuff in middle grade. So that one's a good one. Shadow House is a good one. I don't recall the author either. There's the Nightmares series by Jason Segel. But I honestly, there are kids really like the spooky and creepy stuff. I don't know if it's because of like Stranger Things, which I feel like is way too old for 9 to 12, but I also have never seen it.
Shadow House is scary. I'm scared.
Just the cover, yeah.
Yeah. Artemis Fowl. I'm about to reread them, but I was so into them like as a kid. Because they're making a movie. And what else? I mean, Series of Unfortunate Events. That's a classic, you know.
Isn't there that other series that I feel like a lot of people on BookTube have liked? Is it called Nevermore? Do you know which
Oh
one
yeah,
it's called?
Jessica Townsend.
Yeah.
The second book just came out.
Yeah,
I
I feel
can't think of what
and
it's
everyone's
called.
been telling me to read that, and it's a middle grade series, and everyone says it's really, really good. So
Yeah.
much like Harry Potter. I just bought the sequel, Wondersmith. You read it. Oh! Almost went into my coffee. But I made him read it. Did you like it? The one that was like, oh, your face looks like you did not like
I'm trying to remember.
it was the competition.
They all start
There was
to
a
blend.
competition.
Let me see that back.
Umbrellas. I really liked it. I recommend it.
Another really good one is the Land of Stories series. I really like that one. It's taking like different fairy tales and making a whole new story out of it. It's tons of fun.
I literally just had an 11-year-old recommend that book to me. Fucking
they're-
the same one who painted my nails.
Amazing.
To read that series.
It's really good.
Okay.
Where's the second one?
It's right there.
Okay.
He remembers that he likes
I'm gonna go read it.
Perfect.
Okay, bye.
I'm trying to think of what else there is.
Oh yeah, Coraline.
Oh yeah,
I think I would've liked it. I would have liked it when I was young, but I think now I'm just like, oh, it's like cute, but
Yeah.
oh yeah, that is my dad. People are asking.
Yes, in my Goodreads channel, or
Your Goodreads channel.
my Goodreads account, which is Zoe's dad.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I don't have an identity. I'm just.
Who are you?
Furthermore by Tahara Mafi is really good too. I forgot about that one. That one's like Alice in Wonderland-y, so obviously I like it.
It was okay, but okay.
Oh,
I'll allow it.
different tastes.
We should probably just take like a couple more questions because we're already 45 minutes past the hour.
It's all your fault. You talk so much.
Don't blame him.
So rude.
Who can we blame then?
You, Zoe.
Yeah, you.
Where do you think she gets it from?
Oh goodness. Can you put my dad's Goodreads in the description?
Yeah, I will.
Asking.
I will.
Emma, that reader, asks, I need to find a good LGBTQ plus book. Any recommendations?
Radio silence.
Radio silence, yeah.
That's the only one?
The only one. An absolutely
Simon versus the
remarkable
Homo
thing.
sapien.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We both literally just said the exact same thing.
Yeah, An Absolutely Remarkable Thing is so good.
By Hank Green. You read that one too. The sci-fi one.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a former coworker of mine that she's an editor, and she specializes in LGBT. LGBT. Thank you. Book authors. So she's got. If I should ask her, she probably has a recommendation and mile long of books. I was looking to see if I had this in digital.
Oh, Adam Silvera. I have not read any Adam Silvera, but I've heard very good things.
History is All You Left Me is pretty good. It's
that's my favorite. That one's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Everything Leads to You by Nina LaCour.
I was just gonna say that one. Nina LaCour is really good. Yeah.
What's her other one?
We Are Not Okay.
We Are Okay.
We Are Okay.
We Are Okay. We Are Not Okay.
You had a choice there.
Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulthurst was really fun.
Ooh.
I liked that one a lot.
I didn't know The Apocalypse of Elena Mendoza. I didn't.
Yeah, that one's Sean David Hutchinson, isn't it?
I have no idea. I just saw Christina G mention it in the chat, but I've heard The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Recommended for everything.
Oh my gosh. Well, you're reading that next.
Well, one of the other things I was looking, there was a couple of books in that that our trade division has actually recently published, and I happened to get a digital version of those. And I was looking to see. Of course, these haven't really been marketed that much, so they don't show up as much on like your channels or things like that. But I was looking to see if I would recommend any of those.
How many books?
Maybe why they don't show up so much.
The tea.
That tea.
Oh, I didn't know I'll Give You the Sun.
Yeah.
LGBT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only read half of it, but yes.
Nice. Okay. Any last recommendation requests?
This one is good. Books set in high school or college.
I need more books set in college.
Yeah,
Me too.
I agree.
There's so many set in high school, but
I know.
but now that I'm like almost out of college, maybe we'll finally get more college books.
I feel like I haven't read one that's been set in school in a long time. And maybe it's just because I'm not picking them up, but I feel like they're not being written with school in them as much.
We need more new adult that's not just like smut.
Yeah, I fully agree.
Well, because new adult really is romance.
Yeah. But I'm going to recommend Radio Silence again because it's set in high school and college. So
Perfect.
2 birds with 1 stone.
I'm trying to think. I feel like
I mean, Fangirl, but I just want to keep on. That's the only one I've really read.
There's Emergency Contact, but I don't like Emergency Contact. That book is set in college. I didn't like the book personally, though, but
I didn't like
others
that one
might.
either.
You didn't finish it? Okay, well, none of us liked it. So.
I liked it.
Yeah, Fangirl's a really good one. I don't think there's really... Gail Foreman, Just One Day, and the sequel, all that stuff, that whole series, she's going into her first year of college for that. So, or
I feel like there was another one I just read.
Christine's upcoming book.
Yeah. That's what I thought of right away. I'm not gonna lie.
Haven't read it yet, but I'm excited that we're going to get some more new adult.
Another one. Sorry, I just thought of 2 more. We Are Okay by Nina LaCour, the one that we just talked about. She's in college in that book. And Love and Other Carnivorous Plants, which I think is very vastly underrated and very good. It came out this past year. That one is also set in college. She goes to Harvard and she's in her 2nd semester. It's very good.
A fancy lady. I haven't even heard of that one.
Someone mentioned one. Oh yeah, A Very Large Expansive Sea by Tahara Mafi is set in high school.
Oh yeah, I'm reading that right now. That was the one I forgot.
Yes, yeah.
So people are also recommending the Magicians, and I've seen
that one looks so cool.
Is it also the one that they based the TV?
Yeah, the TV show. Yeah.
Does anybody know if the books are better than the TV show? Because the TV.
I've actually heard that the show is better.
Yeah, so have I.
Yeah.
You watched like all of it, right?
I did.
I've seen all of it too. Yeah.
I get stuck in there, Also, somebody mentioned Discovery of Witches. Anybody heard? I mean, that just sounds like a cool
Deborah Harkness.
Right, Deborah Harkness, yeah.
But you were like watching The Magicians. You're like, it's so bad, but you kept watching it.
I think it gets progressively better every season. That's not to say it ever gets good, but it gets better.
I'll agree with that. And even when they come out with a new season, why do we sit down and watch it?
I don't know, but I am going to. So.
And walk away from the book, but the TV series we won't.
I walk away from TV series all the time. My special talent. Haha, bragging. But yeah, Eliza and Her Monsters is really good.
Oh yeah.
In high school.
Yeah. There's so many. It's just I don't focus on that aspect of it.
College
is hard. College is very, very hard because there's not
I literally have a note on my phone of YA books. You can't see that. YA books set in college.
Oh,
and that's that. Yeah.
Oh, because there's just not a lot, because it's like that awkward age gap. There's such an awkward age gap in front of the teen or YA, and then there's also behind, because you go from like, especially because lately the category has kind of aged up, so there's a lot of stuff like most protagonists are 16, 17, all of that, but then there's no one who's really more than that, or else you're getting to adult things,
Yeah,
and
you're not
then
14
there's no one
years
younger.
old. Like,
No,
there's never 14-year-old protagonists.
no, and that's all it used to
Or
be.
19.
So
Yeah.
it's interesting now.
Yeah.
There's really like a lack of stuff ahead, because you jump from middle grade to teen, and a lot of times there needs to be kind of an in-between, because middle grade is covering such a vast age range, and then you have, it's just, yeah, that was a tangent, I'm sorry.
No.
Okay. I think that we should probably wrap up now, unless Zoe.
I think one more that we should cover from Dana Reads a lot, body positivity books.
Dumplin' by Julie Murphy.
I haven't read that
Just
one.
came out as a movie too.
I just watched the movie though, and I cried my eyes out.
The movie was so good.
Yeah.
What else?
I don't know what else there is. That's the only one I have.
That's another one that like I wanted personally for myself, so I don't have a lot of recommendations because I want to read more.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't like Leah on the Offbeat, so I can't recommend that, but that's one of the only ones I can think of right now.
I sit and then I talked to it was either of you. I don't remember which one of you it was, but I talked to either of you about it, and then I was like, maybe I didn't like it that much.
It was
Was it you at book? Yeah, okay, it was
I
you.
really don't like that book, but
Hilarious.
I think the representation is good for that aspect, but not for the other aspects of it.
Yeah.
Whatever. Girl, haven't finished it yet, but
What was it?
Undead Growing.
Oh,
yes.
I haven't finished it yet.
Good.
I
love the title.
It's right there.
There's a couple that I've seen at there's a couple that I've seen at work recently, but I haven't actually picked them up. But I know that there's, if I'm being honest, I don't remember the author, but that has a bigger character as the main character. And then we have Fat Girl on a Plane, which one of my friends read, and she said it was really good. That was a great one for her. So those are my two.
Oh, perfect. And people are talking a lot in the comments. I'm going to go through here after we finish the live show and write down all the books people have recommended in comments.
I've already doubted the World of All Souls that from the Discovery of Witches.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, I
You're getting a lot of recommendations here.
Isn't that why I watch your channel in the first place? Okay, well, maybe that looks like something I'll try, and if I get stuck in it, then I end up reading or watching the whole entire series or the audio book, whatever.
Have we finished with the recommendations?
Yeah,
I think so. So thank you all so much for joining us for this live. I hope that you guys got some good recommendations out of this. Obviously, this will always be up, so you can come back to it and watch if you missed any of them. And people have been recommending some really good books in the chat as well, so that you can definitely read through that too. But yeah, next week, our booktuber of the week first.
Our booktuber of the week is Becca from Becca and the Books. I love her channel. It's so, her accent is so great. And she's so calming, such a calming presence. And just really enjoy her reading vlogs and everything. So we will leave her link in the description so you can check her out. Really fun.
So yeah, and next week we are going to be on Zoe's channel. And what are we going to be talking about, Zoe?
We're doing 2018 reading year in review. So just talking about everything that we read this past year, just going over our favorites, our least favorites, just wrapping up the year, having some fun, chatting. Maybe you'll be there. Probably not, because we don't want him here. You were enough this week.
No, it was great.
It was great.
We loved it.
But yeah, so we're going to be talking about that next week on Zoe's channel. And then the week after that is the week of Christmas, right? So we're taking that week off. And then we'll be back on Hailey.
Do bookmarked on Tuesday night on Christmas.
Maybe we can.
Christmas Day.
We'll be there.
I will not be there.
No, just you'll just be there with your Santa. You'll take over for all of 3 of us.
But yeah, so that is it for this live. Thank you all again so much for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.